Hi, I'm Maggie Shaw with the Lincolnton-Lincoln County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today in our Get to Know Your Local Business Community Forum. Today we are spotlighting the Lincoln County Board of Education and interviewing Dr. Samuel Light, Superintendent of the Lincoln County School District for 6 years and School Superintendent overall for 17 years. He will introduce his team a little later. Our interviewer today is Mr. Gary Edwards, our local Chamber Ambassador and token submariner. Welcome everyone, and over to you, Gary. Thank you.
Hey, I think we ought to ask Dr. Light to go ahead and introduce the members of his staff that are here with us today, if you will, please, Dr. Light.
Be more than happy to. We're very blessed to have a great staff here in Lincoln County Schools. I want to start with the Associate Superintendent, Dr. Howie Gumby. He is over special education and everything else that is of direct help to me, which is everything in the district. We greatly appreciate his help. He was the principal of Lincoln County for 7 years, Dr. Gumby?
9 years.
9 years. It seemed like 7, but 9 years. We have Mr. Michael Williams, who's a director of teaching and learning. And we have Miss Stephanie Jordan, who is the assistant principal at the high school, as well as the C.T.A.E. director for our high school and for the district. So thank you all for joining us today.
Well, since you mentioned all those folks that help you out in your job as superintendent, could you perhaps describe to us what the job of the superintendent really is?
I can try. The superintendent, of course, is over the entire district, and I am to manage not only the finances of the district, the education of the children, everything that is involving the school district, from personnel to facilities to equipment such as buses. Everything in the school district falls under me. So I get the joy of dealing with all of it, trying to make it work the way it's supposed to so that we get the optimal education for our children. Thankfully, we have absolutely great teachers and great people in our district. It makes my job a lot easier.
Well, for the folks that aren't as familiar with Lincoln County, could you describe the Lincoln County school system? How many students, how many facilities, and how many teachers and stuff?
We actually have 3 schools, of course, the elementary school, middle school, and high school. The middle and high school are combined into one building that was built in 2010 is when it opened. So it was actually built in 2009, opened in 2010. The elementary school original building opened in 1954. They added on to it a couple of times, but our elementary building is off of Roland York Road. We still own the property that people call the old high school. And in that old high school building, we have our dual enrollment classes where we partner with Georgia Military Academy so that our students can earn college credit as well as high school credit in the same class. So those buildings still belong to us. We still have Buddy Bufford Field across from that. We still have a large number of properties in Lincoln County, but we're very proud of what we have. We have about 1,150 in children, 1,139 in total children across the district. And we have some exceptional families that support us through our daily works of trying to teach their children.
And how big is your staff?
We have almost 200 total employees. I think it's 197 or 198.
And that, I think that probably makes you the largest employer in Lincoln County, doesn't it?
I believe it is. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in just a little bit. But so how did you end up in Lincoln County?
I actually started my teaching career in Jacksonville, Florida, and started moving up in education to principal, and then was looking for a principal or a superintendency, and moved to Savannah as an associate superintendent for 4 years. After Savannah, as I'm looking for a place to be, I got lucky enough to be named the superintendent of Elbert County. So I was in Elbert County for 2.5, got an opportunity to go home to where my parents live and be a superintendent there. Frankly, I was an idiot and was chasing money. I should have never left Georgia, but I did. And as I chased money and was close to mom and dad, which was a very strong blessing, I was a superintendent up there for 9 years. Our daughter called and said that she was with child, and we started looking for another place to be and got blessed with Lincoln County.
So I can tell from talking to you over the years that you really enjoy your job here. Tell me why you really enjoy it.
I have chosen throughout my career small districts. And the reason for small districts is you get to know the children. If you're in education and you're not in education for the children, you're doing it wrong. The only reason you're in education is for the kids. I want to know the kids even sitting in my seat. So as I sit in my seat, I still can develop personal relationships with children and parents and families. And to me, that's the joy of education. I love the kids and I love the support.
Do you ever miss being in the classroom?
I do at times. I really do. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy the face-to-face fun and interaction. But I also feel like sitting in my seat, I can do more for more kids than the few that were in my class. So that's truly what drove me to administration, was to try and do more for more children.
Yeah, you mentioned we have almost 1,150 or so students, and how close are we to the capacity of our current facilities?
At the elementary school, we're getting close. Probably another 100 would bump us over at the elementary school. At the high school, we're really not that close because we've combined the two. That building, I believe, was built for a capacity of about 700. So we have enough growing space at the middle and high. As Fort Gordon develops, and we all know Fort Gordon continues to expand, we have to watch that very closely, because as we start to get a large influx, we have to get on the front end if we're going to build a new school. Now, currently, we don't need to build a new school, but if we suddenly got an influx like Columbia County did of, say, 1,300 children, we would have to do something very quickly. So I'm not expecting that, but we are paying a very close attention to that. In case it starts to happen, we can start looking at options.
You mentioned Fort Gordon. Are there any other things you've done with the school system to be more ready to support military families?
We've done quite a bit. We have, on our website, we actually have a military families page that we have tried to help them understand what Lincoln County is like in a video, in an opportunity to hear, unfortunately, my video of what we offer in Lincoln County and in our school system. But just trying to help them understand, if I'm coming from Virginia, I'm coming from Washington, D.C. area, I don't know Lincoln County, don't know what it's like. We try to give them a flavor and a taste of that and what they could expect if they were transferred here, how to enroll. There's a military designation that they provide to a number of schools called the Purple Star Award. That Purple Star means that you have met the requirements that the military has to say you've done enough that we're going to identify you as a Purple Star school, and the military people know that that means that you cater to, for lack of a better word, the military families. Now, we've applied for that twice. They did not nominate in 2020 because of the pandemic. We've applied for that twice and haven't been lucky enough to get it, but there's only 3 schools in the area that have gotten it. So we're going to continue to try and continue to expand what we do for our military families. We know that it's coming.
So looking at the school system, what do you feel like are the strengths of our school system?
We have many, many strengths. I think the biggest strength that we have, of course, is our instructional staff, which in my opinion is beyond anything I've seen in my other districts. The support of the families is huge, but again, it comes back to personnel and the interaction of our people. Being a small district, we can interact with our children very well, get to know them very well, and tailor their individual needs to our teaching style. And it really reaches our kids where they need to be taught. So it's a great benefit for us and for them.
How is it that you're able to get such a good staff here?
I think many reasons, but a lot of them come from within Lincoln County. Kids that have gone off to college and want to come back home. And to be honest, as our teachers are out in Augusta, they're out in other districts surrounding us, they talk about what it's like to teach in Lincoln County. And those other teachers want to be part of that because they know how special it is. Not only are we real close to our kids, but it's a very strong family atmosphere. And most people want to be in that family atmosphere, appreciated and supported.
I also wanted to ask you about how big the class size is. Is that one of our strengths, or where are we with that?
That's a definite strength. We do have small classes. It could be anywhere from 15 to 18 or 20. That's a very optimal size to try to, facilitate learning on a one-to-one basis. I'm not going to say it's a perfect one-to-one where it's one teacher and one student, but as you get the smaller class sizes, it gives you that opportunity to try and assist the children, and you can definitely meet their needs and help them with their interests.
So are there things that you're working to improve in the school system?
Without a question, we have just gone through the comprehensive needs assessment in Lincoln County. And in fact, Ms. Maggie Shaw was part of that. And we want to again thank her for being part of that. But a comprehensive needs assessment is something that we step through annually to try and hear from our community and explain to us what their perception is of the school district. In fact, Dr. Gumby was over that entire process this year. Dr. Gumby, would you like to expand on the comprehensive needs assessment?
Sure. So this process allows all stakeholders to come together. So that's business leaders, parents, community leaders, elected officials, teachers, students, all stakeholders in a school system. And we just look at a lot of data. We look at student perception data, we look at teacher perception data, we look at assessments, and we just we come together to determine what is best for Lincoln County. And so, for example, Ms. Shaw came in from the chamber side, and she sees things differently than we see. So we value that opinion and then see how we can incorporate how the chamber feels about us and how can that make our school system better. So we take all of the responses from all of our stakeholders and find out how can we become better, because we can all improve. We have a great system, but we still can improve. And that process helps us to make sure we're aligned with federal, state, local guidelines and ensuring that our students reach their full potential and have student success.
So what areas are y'all working on to improve based on that?
So we just finished up last Tuesday, and we're gathering that data. But I think, Dr. Light, the district, because of COVID, we're focusing on reading next year. So reading is a highlight that we know that we can improve to make sure when our kids leave elementary, middle, and high school, that they can become great citizens for us. Some go on to college, some go to the military, some tech school, but whatever they desire to participate in after high school, we want to make sure that we've given them the foundation, the educational foundation to make them successful.
And you mentioned that some folks go to college and some don't. My perception is we've spent so much time telling everybody they need to go to college, and we've kind of de-emphasized those other areas of education that are really needed in our workforce today. And I know that y'all pay a lot of attention to the technical education. I wonder if you could talk about your offerings in that area.
I would be more than happy to, but we have the expert that is online. Ms. Stephanie Jordan is our C.T.A.E. director, and I would hate to misspeak, so I'm going to let the expert talk about all of the offerings in C.T.A.E.
Okay, so we offer several things, and you're right, because of the size of our school and the size of our district, we actually offer more than most people do in our surrounding area. We offer ag. And of ag, we offer two pathways in that. I'm going to refer to my cheat sheet over here: horticulture and animal science, and then also horticulture and ag mechanics. So kids learn about different machines that are related to the ag industry, and they actually have a chance to repair engines and do those type things. And then we have architecture and construction, which focuses on construction and welding. We offer both of those programs. We also offer food science. Food science was a switch a few years ago. Dr. Gumby, I'm not sure how many years ago, 4, 5 maybe. we were offering culinary arts and decided it would be better for our students because they can earn a science credit in food science. So we switched from culinary arts to food science and focus on that pathway. And then we offer healthcare science. So students that go that pathway are actually working on their C.N.A., their Certified Nursing Assistant's license, and we test them next week here. We're a site for that. Now, normally that's done in the fall, but in light of COVID, we switched it up and offered it in the spring. And then we also offer cybersecurity and programming, and that's been new since last year with a focus on computer science. So we offer 6 areas, but under those areas, there are many different opportunities for kids to go different ways. Now, the cool thing is too, that students have an opportunity in the 8th grade to take occupational safety, which is the first class in construction and welding. They also can take basic ag and get high school credit for both of those classes, which is the first level class for those pathways. So we're kind of trying to get a head start, give them an opportunity to take as many classes as they possibly can.
So a student can emerge with a high school diploma and a certified nursing assistant certification?
Yes, sir, they can. We have 12 that are testing next week. In the last several years since we've done this, Ms. McKinney has been very successful. We have several students that are working as CNAs now at Lake Crossing, and then ones that have gone on to college to become a RN. So it's been a very successful program.
Are there other certifications that they can achieve through your programs?
Not as of yet. Students who complete a pathway have an opportunity to take an end of pathway assessment, and that will basically give them a certificate that they can use. And some industries may look at that, like for instance, food science, students take the ServSafe test, which would help them get a job in the food industry. And that's a certification that some of them either require them when they get the job or, require them once they're hired to take the test. And so we go ahead and have that certification. Students get an OSHA certification through our construction program. But as far as a certificate in something that they can use in another area, not just yet. We are hoping to partner with C.T.A.E to see about offering some classes that they can actually get a associate certification in a particular area, mainly construction and welding. So that's in the works.
Do you have a lot of students that come out and can go directly and get a job with based on your training?
Yes, sir, most definitely.
About what % of the student body is involved in the C.T.A.E programs?
Almost, I would say close to 90% of all of our students take at least one C.T.A.E course at some point or another. They become concentrators when they take 2. So I'd have to look and double check what that number looks like. But majority of our students take at least one C.T.A.E course at some point.
That's quite impressive. Now, y'all don't do automotive technology anymore?
No, sir. We haven't done that since leaving the old school.
Also become very expensive due to the amount of computer connections and computer programs it takes to analyze what's wrong with your vehicle, which is extremely expensive and hard to keep up with. Ms. Jordan, if you would also talk about the skills state and national tests that our sheet metal and construction and welding have been so successful in.
Right, there's our Skills USA program, or with our welding teacher and our construction teacher participate in a competition. They can do it regionally and nationally. And in the recent years, we've had students that have competed at that level and have done quite well. Now, we didn't have an active group this year in light of COVID. There were a lot of things that had to be done differently, a lot of this kind of interaction with students, and that's really not how those classes are set up anyway, way more hands-on. So we did not participate with that this year, but we're hoping that'll change for next year. But year before last, we had a student who's a senior this year that is graduating, and he won, was a state runner-up. And then several years ago, we had a state winner that went on to the national level. So it's been quite successful. But they compete with bigger schools in the Augusta area and are contenders. So even as small as we are.
I think that's really quite impressive, and thank you for giving us that good discussion on it. Now, you mentioned COVID. In fact, we've been talking all around COVID a lot. Now, what kind of impact did COVID have on the emerging senior class from this year, for example?
It was definitely a challenge from the beginning. I have to admit that way back when the governor said that we were all going to be out of school and all schools were closed, I honestly thought that would last about a week or 2 weeks. Obviously, I was dead wrong. I would have never believed that it would have been as long as it was. But somewhere around the end of May, the leadership team and I sat around the table behind me every week and discussed what can we do to provide an education for all of our children through online, through virtual, through face-to-face, and how quick do we feel it's safe to come back to face-to-face. Initially, Lincoln County did very, very well with the numbers of COVID all the way through about the middle to end of June. And then all of a sudden our numbers escalated and spiked and we had a problem. We were going to open and didn't have a concern about opening because we were doing so well. And then all of a sudden in July, it hit us. So at that point, as we tried to provide, and we are very, very lucky in Lincoln County, we have the capability of one-to-one for every child. In other words, every child has a Chromebook that they can take home with them, and it is their source of a textbook, their source of connection. If they have a connection at home, that makes it real easy. We did a survey in either May or June of last year, and it was somewhere between 17 to 20% of our children did not have that connection at home or chose not to be connected at home. For those kids, we had to provide packets. We had to provide different ways of connection, encouraging their parents to take them either to the library here in Lincolnton, to the school parking lot, somewhere. There's a number of churches that helped, somewhere that they could make that internet connection so that our teachers could interact with them. We actually opened on August 24th, which was later than we had in a long, long time, so that we could have enough control of the COVID numbers and feel safe enough that the kids were safe coming into class. So we started later. As we started online, we had a difficult time with our children being online and being face-to-face in class and getting the work done. Our kids are face-to-face children and community, and it just didn't work out for a way to teach them. Our initial plan was for all of our kids to be, if they chose online, we gave them that option. If they chose online, then they were to be online for that first semester. That was our original plan. And as the leadership team sat here and discussed and started looking at grades, we realized we couldn't do that. We made the decision to change over to face-to-face as an option for parents, even at the end of the first 9 weeks, because we saw how poorly some of the children were doing. Now, some excelled. Some of our kids are going to excel no matter what. But for those that were not excelling, we had to make a change. And all I can do is, again, applaud our teachers at how well they did to make that change and get our children back in face-to-face classrooms to where they can get the help they need, and again, starting to excel academically. So that was the biggest change and biggest challenge for us.
When given that choice, what percent selected the face-to-face versus the at-home?
Michael, I don't know that percentage off the top of my head, but initially we were in 28%.
Yes, initially we had around 24% of the students chose, parents and families chose to have their students at home. And that was initial when we first started school in August. And then as Dr. Light said, when we got into the first semester, we had probably 18% decide to stay because of scores and parents who just kind of felt more comfortable in what we did. And then in the semester, we ended up where we ended the semester, I believe we have possibly now around 4 to 5%, 20, probably less than that, probably like 3% of our students now are still enrolled virtual. But the majority, so that's like 95% of our students are back in the building right now full time. and parents feel comfortable. As Dr. Light said, we've had limited issues. We had a few issues with spread that's caused us to shut down periodically, a day or two or a week. We had one time for 2 weeks. But for the most part, we've been kind of what we've seen around the nation with COVID in schools, that we haven't had as much of an outbreak and issue in the schools. So we've been able to maintain operations in the class, in school tradition like we normally would, with, of course, different things to kind of keep everybody as safe as we can to limit any spread.
So for the seniors that graduated last year and for the ones that graduate this year, are their levels of proficiency comparable to those that were before COVID?
Well, of course, well, with everyone, there's going to be some kind of, because you're out for those months. So in March, we continued instruction in March, April, and May of last year. So we did continue instruction. So for those students who graduated, which was one of my daughters, one of them, she's in college right now, freshman in college. You know, there's a few things that kind of they may have missed out on, but for the most part in Lincoln County, we continue teaching, even though when we went out in March until graduation. For the seniors this year, they've had a full year. We've only, a lot of districts limited schools. That's why we're still in school right now, as opposed to most people have graduated. So we kept the calendar within a time frame so we could keep as close to 180 instructional days. We ended up with 176. However, though, instructionally, we don't feel as if our students were lacking in terms of getting the materials. So we did a good job of, our teachers did a good job of making sure that we instructed students with the full year worth of material. Now, for the lower grades, any gaps that the students had, we've done a lot of things to try to close those gaps, including we had summer school last year for summer remediation for school for those students who missed school. And this year we also having summer remediation also. Summer school for those students who did not maintain credit, and summer remediation, which is something we normally do anyway. It's something we're having with elementary, middle school kids to make sure we can close those gaps of any learning gaps, any learning loss that the students may have suffered due to being out of school. But fortunately in Lincoln County, we had limited interruptions in our school. So our students have not missed as many days. So we're testing now. Students just finished testing with the end of the year state assessment. So we'll be able to kind of get a better idea of locally how we're doing compared to around the state. So we'll get a better idea to see how much of a gap our students may or may not have in terms of learning in the material.
Now, since we're still on the topic of COVID, are there COVID precautions that we're still taking? And if so, what are they?
We're definitely continuing the precautions. We are using a product called vital oxide, and that vital oxide is obviously designed to kill the virus. It kills all viruses. It kills a lot of different things that we're trying to get rid of. But we spray down the cafeteria after everyone eats. Each meal, we go in and spray down and wipe down the cafeteria. Each classroom, teachers have a bottle of it in their classroom, and they spray it over desks. They spray it over everything in the classroom. We actually spray the vital oxide in the air conditioning vents to try and kill it as it comes through the air. We take a lot of precautions with spraying it on the bus even. After a bus route, they go through and spray the bus to make sure that also is clear. So taking those precautions, we offer masks every day. We have hand sanitizer available every day. We have that out there so that the kids can use it. We are not mandating masks. We have not done that in the classroom, but we strongly recommend it. And we have the type of students that'll wear them if you ask them to. So it makes it a very sanitary learning environment, and our kids feel very safe. And I think that's the important part.
I'd like to go back to something Mr. Williams mentioned about testing and assessing with other schools in the state. My recollection is that our school system has often done really, really well compared to other schools. Am I accurate with that?
Yes, sir. We compare ourselves with schools in the CSRA, and generally we are in the top school districts. We're in the top three, pretty much all categories. So students take assessments 3rd through 8th, and in 9th grade they take in high school they take in Algebra 1, biology, U.S. history, and American Lit. So those 4 courses in high school, students take the state assessment. So that gives us our opportunity to compare across. And generally, we are within the top 3. Don't want to name the other districts within us, but we're generally within the top 3 in pretty much every category. For out of the 15, I don't want to say, is it 12 or 13 districts in the CSRA?
I think there's 13, I think.
13 districts in CSRA, and we compare ourselves to schools that are similar to us, demographics, and in size and economic status. And we are generally at the top also with that in our in our state assessments that we give each year.
Wonderful. Thank you. We mentioned the comprehensive needs assessment, and we talked about input from the community to the schools. And I'm kind of curious, is there anything the community itself can do to help support the school?
I think the biggest support that we get from our community is helping our children, whether it is your grandchildren, your personal children, or even a neighbor, understand how important an education is. Not only does it strengthen your community as a whole, but on top of that, it gives that individual child a much better opportunity to be successful in the future. So if you hold an education very high in your esteem of standards, then it becomes important to others as well. And that community support is something that I have always experienced in Lincoln County. There's so many things that we offer in Lincoln County the community participates in. Obviously, athletics, everybody sees that one. But when you have a band concert, a jazz concert, the musical that just happened 2 weeks ago, all of those are full to capacity or very close to capacity because the community comes in and is part of that. They buy into the opportunity to see not only that quality education, but quality entertainment. It's wonderful. And that's part of the community supporting us.
Well, and you mentioned football, and we probably can't talk about Lincoln County schools without mentioning football. So what's the role of football in the education of our kids?
Football, as any sport, has a very strong opportunity to promote leadership, to promote working together, to promote teamwork. But as the community participates in watching football and talking about football and being part of that, it helps bring us together as a group, and it helps the kids feel like the whole community or whole county is on their side as they go to a game. I have never been in another district where, as you go to an away game, there's more people from Lincoln County on Lincoln County visitor side than there is at a home game at many, many other districts. I've never been anywhere like that except in Lincoln County. And that is nothing but community support, community interest, and them just feeling part of the football program. Now, all of our sports are very well supported, but our football program is what everybody wants to come out and be part of. And I'm very proud to say that we appreciate them being there and hope that continues.
Great, great. And since we're talking about community support, are there places that you're looking for or encouraging students to do volunteer work? And do you need that to emerge from the community?
We always need volunteer work because it gives the kids a chance to give back and to start understanding how to participate in the community in a positive way. Now, I know that Ms. Jordan's group has work-based learning, so they get involved in that program. But we also have, like our construction class would go and do a ramp. They have in the past done a ramp for someone that had an issue and needed to be in a wheelchair. I know that some of our classes have gone and picked up a particular lot or a particular street to try and clean it up. Just simple community things that seem simple, but it's a huge help. And anything like that that our kids or our clubs can be part of is just another positive way that we can give back. So we try to do as much of that as we can.
Great, great. And one of the things I try to cover in this Chamber of Commerce series, not only is about the business itself. I know we're talking to the superintendent of schools, not a typical business, but also something that folks can learn about running their own business. And you are essentially the CEO of the largest business in Lincoln County. And I'm wondering if there are some lessons that you have to share about how to, manage a large employee base in a relatively small county.
Well, and I truly believe, and I have to admit, I haven't been a CEO of Microsoft or anything like that, but I truly believe the secret to education is the people. And I think that's true of all businesses. As we look at the opportunity to bring someone to Lincoln County to teach for us, the secret is, A, are they qualified? But even a lot more than that, how do they interact with us? How do they interact with people? How do they interact with students? And you have to get that in the interview, because as an example, if you, Gary, were coming to teach at the elementary school and you didn't like someone to give you a hug around the leg, then you're in the wrong business. You don't need to be in the elementary school, because you're going to get that. Yeah. That's just part of learning the people in the interview process. Because if you don't have great people, you're not going to be successful in anything. And I think that's the biggest portion of it that we have to focus on, is getting the right people in the right slots.
So are y'all hiring for?
Maggie, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what the question was. Are you still hiring for the new year, or have you got all your staff?
We have been very blessed to have everyone, all of our positions are filled at this point. We still need some help in a couple of coaching areas, but all of our teaching positions are filled. And I believe we have an OT still open. Our CFO, unfortunately, is retiring next year, so we're looking for one of those. And I think we have a paraprofessional position open. But other than that, we're full, which is an awesome problem.
That's fantastic. But don't you also need some school bus drivers? I know it's not technically.
We always need a bus driver, and we always need substitutes, always. And Maggie, if you want to come drive a bus, we'll be more than willing to teach you how to do that.
I don't think that the kids will appreciate my driving. My daughter always had an issue with that. It's for the naughty kids, yes. I must admit, I'd like to thank the school for all the assistance that you have given, even to the chamber. The kids have built us our Light Up Lincolnton, the switch, and it's beautiful. And I think they've done quite a few things in the past as well, and we're very grateful for that. And I've been to the school, and I must admit, coming from South Africa, your schools really seem to be top of world class. I mean, they're very, very nice. Sometimes I wish that my daughter was younger so I could actually put her in the school system.
We would be more than happy to take her.
She's 24 now, so a little bit old. But I must admit, I've really enjoyed all my interactions with the school. I enjoyed seeing the elementary school and the garden. I was there with the Pine Needles Garden Club and all of that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting. And I like the fact that you give the kids so much hands-on experience. And, like sometimes at school, it can get very, very boring just, listening to something and you don't see things, that you can play with hands-on. And I think that the school does that beautifully. Yes. And another thing that I have to say about the school, I was very, very impressed, is with the art. The standard of art is very, very, very good. You're doing a wonderful job, all of you. Thank you.
Our fine arts programs, whether it's elementary or whether it's middle and high, they get so much talent out of our children. And we have talented children, but they get so much more out of them, and they produce amazing work. And I'm extremely proud of what they've done, whether it's drawing, whether it's the painting, whether it's musical. They just do an awesome job. And again, that's part of the entertainment that we were talking about before.
No, they really do well. Gary,
Well,
are you back?
yeah, I apologize for dropping out there. I'm not sure what happened. I just wanted to ask those, is there anything that Dr. Light you'd like to cover that I wasn't smart enough to ask you that you really want to talk about?
Well, again, you kind of touched on it in regards to how well our children are doing in comparison to other schools. And Michael did a real good job of letting us know that we are in the top 3 in every category, quite frequently in the top. We fight very hard to be at the top. Again, we test everybody. As you look at other nations, and quite frequently, as you see a national comparison, they compare us to the 27 industrialized countries, as they say. And America, they always show as falling behind somewhere around 18 or 19 of 27. The problem with that is you have to look at how that is compared. As you look at other countries, whether you look at a Germany, whether you look at a China or Japan, they start channeling children off away from testing and away from education based on their capabilities early in their life. They don't test every child that is enrolled in the type of test that shows them this group of children are doing real good. If you let me pick who Lincoln County tests and nobody else gets to test, I promise we're at the top, guaranteed every time. That's because we would select who is our number 1A valedictorian kids, and that's all it would ever test. Well, that's what a lot of those foreign countries do. We in America don't do that. We test everybody, and we believe everybody should be tested. And we still do very, very well. I'm proud of what Lincoln County does. I'm proud of everybody that works for us. I'm just elated to be here and the support that we get. I'm really proud of the children too, because the children do a super job in continuing to excel.
That's wonderful. That's a great summation too. And I've been honored to be able to do this interview, and I thank you all for participating. Maggie, thank you for asking me to play a part in this.
No, thank you, everyone. Dr. Gumby, would you like to say anything else?
Just ditto from Dr. Light. It's a great place to work. I call this home, and it's a great opportunity to help mold those young lives in any capacity that we can. And we do have a great system. Every year we talk about family, that in this system we are family. And when you mention family, that doesn't mean we all agree every day. There are some disagreements, but in the end, we're still family. And that's great that you can come to work every day knowing that someone has your back or you're helping someone. And that's truly a family atmosphere, and it's great to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Williams?
Everything's been great. I'm an NFLer, as we like to say, not from Lincoln, not from Lincoln County. But ever since I've been here, it's been great. This is my 4th year in Lincoln County. It's the best school system I've been a part of. My children go here, and so it's great. And I just hope we can continue to, with the chamber and different businesses in the community, bring in more businesses and housing and other things that can help attract and make it a much more, even as great as it is, make it even more desirable, so we can get more and more families and different people that can bring in a lot of great things and innovation ideas to the area and community. So I'm thankful for the chamber. I've been a few things that you guys have done, and as you will continue to try to promote Lincoln County, and definitely promoting even help with businesses and things. So as that continues to help and improve the quality of life, it's going to continue to just help this school system attract better teachers. When we have openings, which are far and few between, when they get it, they want to stay. But definitely, we thank you for all that you have done and continue to do to try to promote and working in conjunction with the school system, even in doing this interview, and allowing us to promote and be a part of what you have going on. Thanks for that.
Well, thank you very much for participating. I've been in Lincoln County for exactly the same time as you, also 4 years, but I think we're now called Now from Lincolnton. Stephanie, how about you? What would you like to say in closing? I think as a lady, I should have asked you first.
That's okay. Well, I don't think I can say anything else. I am from Lincolnton. I graduated from Lincoln County High School and was gone for almost 20 years and came back. So this is home. So anything I can do to help our students to be the best they can be is what I think is the focus here. I think everybody's on board with that. I appreciate the chamber being willing to do this, because I think the more that we have a cohesive group with communicating between the school and the community, it's going to make things a win-win for all the students. So I appreciate the opportunity. I hope it continues.
Thank you. I appreciate that too. Well, thank you, everyone. It was very, very nice having this conversation or interview with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thank you.